from the rock city of Nigeria. Rock city of Nigeria. This is Fresh 107.9. Stay tuned for the news on Fresh 107.9 FM. It's 1 o'clock. Good afternoon, this is Global Updates on Fresh 107.9 FM at Belkuta. I'm Wale Bakare. First, the headlines. Trace deploys 650 operatives, 35 patrol vehicles for Yuletide. COVID-19 cases on the rise as Nigeria records 806 new infections. On the foreign scene, Italy orders nationwide lockdown for Christmas, New Year period. In sports, Cameroon-born Mukoko becomes youngest scorer in Bundesliga history. Stay tuned for details of this and more. And now the news in detail. The Ogun State Traffic Compliance and Enforcement Corps, TRACE, has commenced Operation Stay Safe, Drive Responsibly and Be Protected on Ogun Traffic Corridor with the deployment of 650 operatives, 35 patrol vehicles and 20 tow trucks through the Hired Tow Operators HTO. According to a release from the office of the TRACE Corps Commander, Commander Sheni Ogunyemi, the operation, which commenced on Wednesday, December 16th, would last through Monday, January 11th, 2021. The release stated that the special operation would also involve the general public, particularly the motoring public, through the Trace Traffic Whistleblower Initiative, Trace Emergency Traffic Service, as well as Trace Community-Based Traffic Management Scheme, adding that safety on the roads is a collective responsibility. The release further noted that this year's festive season is unique in a way due to the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic, which has further challenged all road users on the need to stay safe by driving responsibly during this period in order to be protected. Nigeria's COVID-19 cases have continued to rise as the Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) on Friday night reported 806 new infections in the country. This brings the country's total infections to 77,013, out of which 67,484 have recovered and 1,212 have died. According to the NCDC, the new cases, Lagos recorded 287, followed by the Federal Capital Territory with 255, Kaduna with 36 new cases, Akwa Ibom with 29, while Katsina and Rivers reported 25 new cases each. Kwara State had 21 new cases, Bauchi 19, Kano 15 new cases, Ondo 14, Plateau 13, Yobe 12, Nasarawa 11, Ebonyi 9, Gombe 8, Abia 7, Delta and Imo 4 new cases each, Osun 3 new cases, Anambra and Borno 2 new cases each, while Cross River, Edo, Ekiti, Jigawa and Ogun States reported 1 new case each. The number of active cases in the country is now put at 8,317. Meanwhile, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has directed that all government and private schools in the state be shut down until further notice. This forms part of the public health directives issued by the governor on Friday as the state government prepares for a second wave of the coronavirus pandemic. He also directed all public servants from grade level 14 and below, except emergency workers and first responders, to work from home for the next 14 days, starting from Monday next week in the first instance. The governor, who tested positive for COVID-19 recently and said he was getting better by the day, stressed that concerts, carnivals and street parties were banned in Lagos until further notice. Governor Sanwo-Olu stated that the 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. curfew imposed by the federal government remained in place, adding that the protocol of no mask, no entry must be enforced by all public places such as offices, businesses, markets and shops, among others. Away from the COVID-19 now, President Muhammadu Buhari has called on security agencies to fish out the bandits who abducted students of the Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, Katsina, and bring them to justice. The president made the call while speaking to the students after they were handed over to the Katsina state government. President Buhari, who spoke in Hausa, charged the rescued boys to remain focused on pursuing their interests in acquiring good education despite the misfortune of kidnapping, noting that the reward of knowledge is not negotiable. Meanwhile, the Katsina State Governor Aminu Masari said the security architecture in the country should be upgraded to ensure the safety of citizens, adding that the kidnap of school children should never happen again.
I use this opportunity to praise and thank the efforts made by the entire security apparatus of the state, of the country, for what they did, the professionalism that was shown and demonstrated during the efforts that culminated in the release of these 344 students of Kankala Government Science Secondary School.
In the meantime, the federal government is insisting no ransom was paid to ensure the release of the 344 students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, Katsina State. The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, who disclosed this at a media briefing in Abuja, thanked everyone involved in the rescue process. He assured that government remains committed to ensuring the safety of all Nigerians.
The federal government continues to do everything possible to secure all our schools and indeed all Nigerians. And we will not relent until all Nigerians can go to bed at night with their two eyes closed. Negotiation does not necessarily mean there will be money. There are a lot of back channel negotiations that take place in this kind of situation anywhere in the world. Felix, there was no money that changed hands. They were released unconditionally.
Away from the Katsina development, the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, Mohammed Nami, has called on states to leverage on technology to improve their revenue generation. Mr. Nami made this call during a meeting with the heads of the revenue-generating agencies from the 36 states of the Federation. The FIRS boss said urgent steps are needed to shore up the revenue bases of the federal and state governments to meet up with the socio-economic development the nation requires.
People continue to make money every day, but as revenue administrators, we are not able to generate commissionable taxes from those revenue. And until we are able to do something otherwise, the governments that appoint to us or those that we serve will continue to borrow monies to fund their budgetary requirements.
You've been listening to Global Updates on Fresh 107.9 FM Abeokuta. Still to come on the foreign scene, Italy orders nationwide lockdown for Christmas, New Year period. This and more to come. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. Outside our shores now, Ethiopia is offering a 10 million birr, that's $260,000 reward to anyone with information on the location of fugitive leaders of the rebellious force in the northern region of Tigray. The reward to help capture leaders of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, was announced on state-run broadcaster EBC and later tweeted by the government's task force on the Tigray crisis late on Friday. The announcement was made by Lieutenant General Asrat Denero, head of the military's Community Information Department, who also provided a hotline where citizens could give tips. Thousands of people are believed to have been killed and nearly 1 million fled their homes during airstrikes and ground battles in Tigray last month. The conflict has raised concerns among Ethiopia's international allies about the possible destabilization of Africa's second most populous nation. Italy has ordered a nationwide lockdown over much of the Christmas and New Year period in an effort to combat a rise in coronavirus cases. The country will be under red zone restrictions over the public holidays, with non-essential shops, restaurants and bars closed and Italians only allowed to travel for work, health and emergency reasons. Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte who said the decision was not an easy one, added that limited home visits will be allowed. Italy has recorded the highest COVID death toll in Europe, with close to 68,000 fatalities. The announcement of the Christmas restrictions followed days of wrangling in the governing coalition between those wanting a complete lockdown and others seeking limited action to help struggling businesses and allow families to meet. Still talking COVID, the U.S. government has approved the Moderna vaccine as the country's second COVID-19 vaccine, clearing the way for millions of doses to be released. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, authorized the U.S.-made jab about a week after approving a Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, which is now being distributed. The U.S. has agreed to purchase 200 million doses of Moderna, and 6 million may be ready to ship now. The country has the world's highest numbers of COVID-19 deaths and cases. According to Johns Hopkins University, the U.S. has recorded more than 313,500 deaths and about 17.5 million infections. In business, the UK and EU continue to negotiate as talks on a post-Brexit trade deal enter another critical 48-hour period. Talks in Brussels are understood to be focused on how many years it will take to phase in new fisheries arrangements. With the two sides at odds over access to UK fishing waters and quota levels, the EU's negotiators said the moment of truth had arrived, adding that there were only a few hours left to seal an agreement. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has vowed to keep talking, but warned gaps had yet to be bridged. Senior members in the European Parliament have said they will not be rushed into signing off a deal on their side and want to see the text of any agreement by Sunday if they are to approve it by the end of the year. In sports now, Borussia Dortmund's Youssoufa Moukoko became the youngest player to score in the Bundesliga as his side lost 2-1 to Union Berlin. The striker, aged 16 years and 28 days, equalized on the hour mark. It beat the previous record set by Florian Wirtz, who scored for Bayer Leverkusen against Bayern Munich, aged 17 years and 34 days in May 2020. Union's goals were both from set pieces, with on-loan striker Liverpool Taiwo Awoniyi and Marvin Frederick scoring. Moukoko, who was born in Cameroon but plays for Germany's under-20s, became the Bundesliga's youngest player earlier this season when he made his top-flight debut against Hertha Berlin on November the 22nd, a day after turning 16. Before we end the global updates on Fresh 107.9 FM at Abeokuta, here's a recap of the main stories. We told you that Trace has deployed 650 operatives, 35 patrol vehicles among others, to ensure safety on the highway during the coming festivities. And Foreigners in Italy has ordered a nationwide lockdown over much of the Christmas and New Year period in an effort to combat a rise in coronavirus cases. In sports, Borussia Dortmund's Cameroon-born Youssoufa Moukoko has become the youngest player to score in the Bundesliga at 16 years and 28 days. That's global updates on Fresh 107.9 FM at Abeokuta. The news was edited by Omoyemi Adesoye. I'm Wale Bakare. Thank you for listening. Good afternoon.
It's Christmas. Spend your Christmas with us here on Fresh 107.9, your #1 radio station. This is Fresh 1.